Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ask the Amigos. This is a show where Aaron and I answer our Discord community's burning questions. We start off with Mr. Dave 6309. He says, "What old TV show would you like to see as a video game?" This is from over a month ago. He was predating the ARG wheel.
It is amazing. Listen, the original Dragnet, and it would be point-and-click adventure. You know, you've got the two officers there, right? You've got Joe Friday, you got Gannon, right? You got the chief. They go out, and the thing is, it would be broke. Here's how I would do it. You know the problem with these point-and-click games? They take 1,000 years. Right? No, that's for suckers. This would be one of those deals where, like, every month they release a new episode, and you play it. You get in about 40 minutes or so. You pay, like, maybe $1 a month subscription. That's how I do it. Because the old Dragnet was great. I love that show.
I've been watching a whole lot of Peter Gunn lately.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Peter Gunn would be a fantastic game in the same vein, except I would make it more action-oriented, because Peter Gunn is a man of action.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to throw down with either his fists or the cold steel of his gun. And plus, there's lots of cool music. Peter Gunn, every episode, he's like, "I'm going to Mother's." And then he goes to the jazz club, and there's always some jazz song playing.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of colorful people, ethnic people. It was diverse for its time, although most of those ethnic people, I believe, were not actually played by ethnic people.
Yeah, that'll happen.
But Peter Gunn, that's my answer.
By the way, before we move on, since you're watching Peter Gunn, you need to check out a show called Secret Agent Man or Danger Man.
Is that where the song comes from? Is it the theme?
Secret Agent Man.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
It's got Patrick McGowan as a spy. He's like the thinking man spy, like a James Bond, but smoother. And then that show was sort of the predecessor for The Prisoner. You can watch all 17 episodes of that, which is great.
Is
great
that
stuff.
We're gonna get every hen house? Look, there's a guy. There's that famous monologue, like search every outhouse, hen house.
No, it's not that.
Oh,
it's the one. I'm not the number. I'm a free man. You are number 6. The big weird balls chase people and chase them down and get them.
Really? So it's sci-fi.
Oh, it's got everything in there. It's got everything. It's a must-watch.
Okay.
It's a British classic, brother. Watch Danger Man, then watch The Prisoner. That goes for everyone. That could be a game too. Go ahead.
Duran Duran or Wham?
Duran Duran.
I'm not as familiar with Wham's catalog.
They got good stuff. And George Michael's is an individual singer, like blows away the guy's Duran Duran.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with George Michael as a solo artist.
Yeah.
But I'll have to go Duran Duran.
Yeah. If the question was Duran Duran or George Michael's, then you got a problem, because George Michael's had some awesome stuff.
U2 or Simple Minds?
Simple Minds only had really 2 songs.
I don't know any Simple Minds songs.
Yeah, you do. Don't you?
Oh, that's them?
Forget
Okay.
about
What's
me.
their other one?
And by the way, they didn't want to even record that song. They hated it.
Really?
Yeah. They looked, and their other one was they had another song. I can't remember off the top of my head, but doesn't matter. U2. Even if you don't like U2, you're gonna out of their huge library of songs, you're gonna find a couple that you like.
Yeah, I go with that too.
Alive and Kicking. Thank you, Mr. Rocket. That was it.
David Hearn Ryder asks, what boxed Amiga game that you don't have would you most like to have a boxed copy on the shelf?
Akira.
Really? Why?
Well, as you know, I've got a project going, a sub-project.
Right.
And I'm trying to collect the premier bad games in Amiga. And I'd like the big box version of Akira. It goes for big money, though. So, but that one, because I got Lionheart, you know.
Yeah.
So, Akira. I want Akira.
Yeah, for me, I'm trying to think. You know, most of the boxed Amiga games that I want, I already have.
Yeah.
I've got
and
the
you
Addams
gave me the
Family.
rest.
Yeah. I've got Elite, a Frontier Elite 2.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know.
Akira. That's
Akira.
what you want, too. You're a big fan of that movie, too.
I would hate it,
where people explode and crap, turn into weird crap demons.
I don't need that in my life.
No, it's not good. It's a brain drainer.
Spinny108 asks, New Year equals new beginnings or New Year equals old habits die hard?
Both, really. I mean, listen, I don't know what you did for your resolutions this year. I didn't even think about it. I just moved on. New beginnings. Yes, let's go with that. My thing is at the end of the year, if I look back on the previous year, and I'm like, okay, am I in a better position than I was a year ago? That was a good year. I always look back. I never look forward. This year, I mean, I'm not health wise. I'm not as good a shape as I was, but otherwise, I'm doing okay. And we were all sort of hurting financially. What you could do, but you know, spirit wise, my spirit top shelf. That's the way I look at it. What about you?
Yeah, I always look at the new year. I try not to really make resolutions, but I try and think about like, yeah, this is a chance to start fresh and try and do some things better. I guess I did make one resolution. Made a resolution to listen to more music this year and actively listen to it, and I just put it on in the background.
Yeah. It's funny. I look at all the little music things you guys have on the Discord. Like, I am not that passionate about music. I really never have been. I mean, there's music I like and don't like, but you guys are like accepting your music on different levels than me.
Ricky DeRocher asks, if you could only play one video game for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
Oh, geez.
That's tough.
One game for the rest of your life? Well, this is a lame answer, but it wouldn't be a retro game. And the reason is because it would just get too repetitive.
Right.
It would be something like a Grand Theft Auto 5 or something like that, where it was like a huge, or maybe what's that game? What's the game where you fly around that ship and the
Elite Dangerous?
No, the other one that was
it came out and sucked.
No Man's Sky, something like that, where it's like it's always different, new, and fresh. Because, I mean, I love like Donkey Kong or Stunt Car Racer. I mean, you're going to be real sick of that real quick. Yeah. That's the only game you've got.
Yeah, I'd say for me, probably like something with strategy, something like Civilization. I think I could, you know, this isn't like you have to do this and nothing else for the rest of your life, because then I would definitely choose something like No Man's Sky. But like whenever I'd want to sit down and play a video game, this is the only one I could play, I'd say something like Civ 4.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the worst choice. I haven't played Civ 4, but I hear it's good.
Yeah. Is2Scooby asks, did you ever get told you remind someone of a well-known person, celebrity? If so, who? Yes. When I was in college, I was constantly told I looked like the lead singer from Bare Naked Ladies. Stephen Page.
But that guy looks like a big geek.
Well.
You don't look like him now.
No.
And I didn't know you then. I don't look like anybody. I mean, remember, were you at the movies that time where I was talking about all the bald guys with goatees? They're like, they're everywhere. They're kind of the woodwork. And now, granted.
Are you saying that you spearheaded this trend?
Well, I mean, I was ahead of the game, but the problem is, that means you're old. Like, I was the first guy around that had a ponytail, too, believe it or not. Like, in this area, because I saw a guy on TV.
Did you pioneer the skullet as well?
Well, by the time, yeah, probably. But I mean,
you've got a lot of firsts.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the thing is, no one's like, look, here comes, you know, I don't know nothing, the horse of the wells. I don't get that. I'm just like, here comes a tubby goop that's bald with a goatee, like a million other guys. Like now, everyone looks like that. So.
Everybody looks like you.
Man, I'm sorry, everybody. That's a real bummer for the nation.
Jason Warrens asks, is there a game that you wished you had more time to play to allow you to get more engrossed in the story or lore?
Who asked this?
Jason Warrens.
Okay, go ahead, bud.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to sit down and get real into whatever the next Elder Scrolls game is. Like, or even just go back to Skyrim and play all the new mods and read all the books in Skyrim. When I first started playing Skyrim, I was so into it, and I was so determined to get into it, that I downloaded the books that you find on the shelves. I downloaded them to my Kindle and would read the books.
How were they?
Not great. Not great. But I love the idea of a functioning world like the Skyrim world. I think it's super cool. So I'll go with that.
I played that Fallout 76. Remember that disaster? It had books like that you could get. And also, one thing I had liked that it had old radio shows that they'd made for the game.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can listen to them while you're going to different areas. You can have them playing. But the game sucks, so I'm not going to pick that. Listen, Skyrim, not the worst choice, frankly. It would, and my choice would be something similar because something that had tons and tons of lore that they'd worked on, like for tons. If you're an anime fan, if you're into or Japanese role playing, you're probably like, there's tons of choices. For people like myself that aren't, I'd say Skyrim is probably not the worst idea. So I'd say I'm going to go with you on that.
Bam. Pajako6502 asks, if you could win the lottery and choose the amount you win, would you live like a king, never wanting for anything, or choose an amount that gives you a good life, but you still have to consider what you spend your money on? That's a good question, Pajako.
No, it's not. That's a bad question. Who would pick two?
Well,
who's getting the money you don't take? If that was specified, maybe I'd change my vote.
Well, here's the thing. If you are known as somebody that has $1 billion, there's a lot of things you have to deal with that you don't have to deal with being you and me. If you're somebody that has enough money to live comfortably, some of those things go away.
Yeah, but if you've got all the money, you hire geeks to worry about the other stuff, and you just live like an island.
I'm going with the second one. I'm going with enough money that gives me a good life, but I still have to consider what I spend my money on.
Not me. I'm going with the big money.
All right. David Hearn Ryder asks, have you ever been so excited about a game you couldn't sleep? Did it deliver or disappoint? I used to get so excited about games all the time when I was a kid that I couldn't sleep. When like the Christmas Eve before I got Final Fantasy, I wasn't sleeping.
Dragon's Lair. Again, I loved that game so much because it had everything in it I like. It was the D&D type motif, hot princess, beautiful animation from Don Bluth. I couldn't believe it existed. I mean, that was like a video game. It's like an alien that came down with the games. Like, here's the games we play. They're cartoons. Right. You're like, oh my God.
Right.
Thank you, Solar Lord, for dropping us down. That's Leveler's brother, by the way. But so that was one that I was always super excited about it. But I mean, when you'd buy a new game and you'd be waiting for it in the mail or something, or you were at school and you have the manual with you, it didn't matter what the game was. Like I had the manual for this game called like Space Rogue, I think it was, and I was like, man, when I get home, I can't wait to dig into this. You just couldn't wait.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's a kind of excitement you don't get that much anymore as you're older because you'll have to wait. You know? But yeah, I would say Dragon's Lair, but a ton of other games that were also excitable. I'm an excitable guy.
Super Tech Boy asks, now that Excel spreadsheets are a competitive esport, what business productivity application would you like to become the next esport?
I did watch the accompanying video for this. It's the dumbest, most boring crap. Sorry, Brent, all you esports fans. Esports is bad enough, but watching some ultra geek go bananas on an Excel spreadsheet, that's a bridge too far.
What about like competitive Photoshop, where you're trying to get the best fill, or to mask out something?
No,
that's
not
not doing it for you.
So what I would like is like competitive freestyle art. All right, so and you'd think you could categorize it. Like, remember that old thing for the Amiga, morph, where you can morph crap?
Like the Michael Jackson video.
Do the best morph. And here's the amount of time you got. We don't care what the pictures are. Here's another one. Render the best ball scene. You know, when we were watching, I was watching that Amiga Ireland talk from you guys, and you mentioned it. It's like, what did you guys do? Come home and you sit around rendering crap? They were like, yes. This gives all those guys that sit around rendering crap something to do for money. Any of that stuff's better than Excel. You know, but yeah, stuff like you were saying, the best fill or the best, that stuff would be kind of fun too. Excel, absolutely not. I gotta look at that at work.
Yeah.
Can you imagine coming home for enjoyment and watching a bunch of geeks screw around with Excel? I'd put a bullet in myself before I do that.
I don't know. Like, for example, I use Finale all the time, which is a music notation program.
Yeah.
And I'd probably watch 5 or 10 minutes of the World Finale Championship.
5 or 10 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
But hours of that?
No. Life's too short.
I would put a bullet in you if you're like, man, I'm really getting into this Excel. I'd be like, Bo, you need to go out to the barn, like old Yeller.
Chris Folds asks, have you ever got up early just to make sure you got time for breakfast? I get up early every day so I can eat breakfast.
Have I ever gotten up specifically so I could eat breakfast?
Yes.
God, no. No, because I work in reverse. I sleep as long as I can because I go to bed so late. You know, and my body knows. It knows what's going on. Then I get to work, and then I eat on their time. That's the way you do it.
That's good. That's good. You ever run through the drive-thru on the way in, and then when you get to the lab, toss Greg a sandwich, you open one up, and just chow down?
Greg doesn't eat anything like that. He eats cuties. He's got a big bag of cuties.
Oh, yeah, cuties, yeah.
You know, and then for lunch, he has all kinds of, he puts like a bunch of toxic stuff into these like noodles stuff. All of his meals cost like $1. He's like he's always like a mega diet. He goes out for a walk 2 or 3 times during the day. Like today, even as cold as it was, he'll go out and walk.
Really?
He's kind of, as he's gotten into his 50s, he's like kind of become a health nut. Yeah.
Mr. Dave asks, have you ever bought a game and either disliked it or found it too hard and tried to return to it?
Yeah, many times. And on this show, Bat was one I bought back in the day and I couldn't play it. Another one, Armageddon, and I thought we played it on this show. And I thought, well, I'm going to come back to that, and I couldn't play it. You know, it happens all the time. It's because I'm dumb. And back in the old days, there was no reference guide to tell me what these games were that I was buying. I hate to buy crap. Flashback's another one, by the way. I bought. You buy this stuff, you're like, man, this looks good on the box. You know, then you get home and you're like, You know, what the hell is Blitter, whatever? It's like that your Coco commercial. Like, what is this?
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm not good at those games. And the problem is they weren't selling like Stunt Car Racer. They were selling like stuff like Bat or Armageddon. I mean, Armageddon, remember when we played that?
Oh, just
What the heck? We had no idea what we were doing. We were both morons. And it sounded cool if you know what you were doing. What about you?
Yeah, lots of games that I rented when I was a kid on the NES that I just had no idea what was going on.
Really?
You know,
on the NES?
Yeah. Well, well, not really know what's going on, but
like Romance of the Seven Kingdoms or something?
Like, for example, like River City Ransom.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I'd play that, and I didn't understand that it wasn't just a beat 'em up like Double Dragon. You had to do other stuff. And I've also gotten better at video games. Like, I'm sort of the reverse of a lot of people complain that their reflexes aren't as good or whatever. Yeah. But I've gotten better at video games because I play so many that I know what the game is trying to get me to do. And when I was a kid, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
not me. I stink of most everything.
Well,
every once in a while I have some fun. I do well, you know.
Is Too Scooby asks, have you ever wanted to be shorter or taller?
Who wants to be shorter?
Well,
Andre the Giant?
In some high-tech future, inches are a commodity. You can buy and sell them. So, for example, if you were 5'9" and would like to be 6 foot, you'd have to come up with $30,000 to add 3 inches of height. The converse would be true, too. So if you were 6'3" and wouldn't mind shrinking down to 6 foot, you could sell 3 inches and make $30,000.
Oh,
this is an interesting question.
Wow.
So, like, what would your height...
I'd be a midget by now.
Well, I was going to say, so you wouldn't mind being short if you could make money?
Well, I mean, I would rather not. I've always been... I was 6'1.5". I was. I don't know what I am now. Shorter. And you're about 6 foot something, right? We're about the same size, you know. And 6 foot is considered marginally tall,
right,
by American standards today, right? And we've got plenty of friends that are shorter than that, like the Hose and people like that, Brent, whatnot. Is there an advantage to being taller? I mean, the popular myth, I don't know, maybe it's not a myth, is that chicks dig taller guys. I've heard that many times. I don't know if it's true.
It's totally true.
And then I've also heard that shorter guys might live a little longer than taller guys. So it's a flip side. What I don't know where I stand. If I could sell inches, like if I could sell an inch of my height to make 30 large or 10 large, I'd sell it immediately. But it didn't hurt or whatever. What about you?
Every girl that I've ever dated and or married, when I ask them, why did you go for me? Height is always the number one
Well,
answer.
I didn't want to come out and say it, but...
So I'm not going to lose my height until I'm already married. Now, it's time to get short, baby.
How tall is your wife?
5'4".
Think of the amount of money you could make and still be taller than her.
Yep.
You could sell like 5-6 inches of height.
That's right. So there you go.
You could buy a house, and the thing is, you could buy a smaller house,
right?
Like a Hobbit house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a good question.
It is a good question. That? Is Too Scooby? Good question.
Isn't he clever?
Yes.
Well done, Scoob.
Is Too Scooby says, as someone with 2 left thumbs, I've always wanted to be more coordinated. How would you describe your hand-eye coordination? Has it helped you or hindered you? I think my hand-eye coordination is good. I'm good at catching things that are thrown at me. I'm good at doing like the fast save when I'm ready to drop something.
It always makes you feel good when you pull that off.
But I don't think that I'm very coordinated when it comes to video games. Like those games like StarCraft where you got to make tons of rapid motions and movements.
Really? StarCraft?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a strategy game.
Like when you watch competitive Star Trek, ASM, like actions per second and all that stuff counts.
Yeah, but I mean, in your average daily play, you're not going to be acting like that when you play.
No, but I mean, if you watch the esports.
I didn't know that. Get with the esports?
Listen.
My God, Brent's somewhere celebrating all this esport talk.
Same thing with like first-person shooters or even like a game like Portal. I don't have the coordination to do like the things that you have to do in the later levels of that game.
Right. One time I was at my kid's ball game, and I was sitting right along the fence line, right? And this kid came up and with a mighty wallop and a foul ball, all right? And I wasn't even paying attention, but somehow my brain was like, it's go time. And I reached over and barehanded catch this ball. And the people in the audience roared.
Ovation,
right?
Yeah.
They roared with the affection. And then, 2 games later, I was going to get a soda and I fell in the mud. So, you get and you give, right?
Yep.
So I've made these awesome catches. I've had pretty good hand-eye over the year, but I can't
Yeah.
I can't hold stuff.
I'm exactly like you.
You know?
Like I have that sort of thing, but yeah, I'll trip over my own feet. I'll trip over invisible objects.
You ever fall in the mud in front of a stadium full of people? Has that ever happened to you?
Not yet.
It's not good. You look like a geek. And I still went and got the concession.
I was gonna say,
that's what made it worse.
Was it before or after you were carrying the orange soda?
No, luckily it was on my way. Trust me, I was footloose and fancy free, and then I was covered in the mud. Not good. So my hand-eye coordination comes and goes.
Yeah.
My eye coordination is not so good.
Pajako6502 asks, if you had to go on witness relocation, would you still hang out in the same retro gaming circles online under your new identity, or just escape from it all?
Most people don't know my identity anyway, because I'm not Amigo Aaron. I'm the devil. I just gave it away. I'm the devil bunny.
Oh, everybody knows
people are
now.
stunned on Twitter and stuff like, "Who are you?" It's like,
except don't you put that? You have that in your Twitch or your Twitter profile.
No one looks at those.
I study them.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I don't know much about Twitter, to be honest with you. It's dumb. It's owned by a goof. That's all I know. And so it wouldn't bother me too much, but if I had to change my name, can you imagine what I would do to get the Witless Relocation program?
Yeah, I mean, you cross the wrong person in court when you have to go to court that's taking a breathalyzer test, they'll put you away.
No, not me, they won't.
Yeah.
How am I going to hide? What am I going to do to stay at the change?
Listen,
shave the beard? I'm just a bald, fat guy with no beard?
You know, you should shave your goatee at some point in the future, just so people can see.
I've had it shaved on this show many times.
No, I'm talking about just completely no facial hair.
I have.
You've never
no
done
facial
that.
hair. I never do that.
You should.
Do you know why?
No.
Because when you're a bald, fat guy and you shave off all your facial hair and all your hair is gone, your head looks like the top of a pencil.
Bam.
You just walk around.
Bam. That's me.
But you can pull it off, but people are used to you looking like that.
Well, people would get used to you.
Listen,
looking like
you
a
should
freak.
grow back the horseshoe.
The horseshoe was nice.
What was the question? I can't remember. Witness relocation.
Yeah.
Yes, I would still hang out with my people because I love them. I love them peoples. What about you?
Yeah, I've thought about this often. Like, for example, one day you're finally going to be like, Boat, you're off the show. And I'm wondering...
Do I have that kind of jack?
Yeah.
Boat, you're off the show.
Yeah. And I'd be like, okay. And so I was, would I still continue to hang out like on the Discord? Or would I just make a clean break?
You would be gone. I know you. That'd be it. You'd cut all ties. For one thing, that's impossible to happen because you're my good buddy. Boat loves it when I put my arm around him during these shows.
I don't mind it so much now.
What if I some of that? Britt and Boat, they have a touch problem.
It's not
me.
a touch problem. It's
I'm a lover. I like the tactile feel of a man's shoulder in my hand when I'm talking to him. It gets me, like Spock. I like.
Does he like that feel?
The Jedi, the Jedi mind trick.
Boy.
It's the Vulcan gimmick. But I couldn't kick you off the show, Boat. You are the show.
David Hearnrider asks, what computer or console game most reflects your life to date?
Well, you want to take a stab at that?
Leisure Suit Larry?
I was thinking, what's that? What's the Sparky Worm one? I'd say that would be good for you.
Maybe Build-A-Chip on the ZX Spectrum.
This sums up your life? How?
Just boring.
That's not your life's not boring. You got crap going on all the time.
What is it? Oh, actually, I take it back. New answer. Trombone Hero.
That's a game.
Oh, man. You haven't seen that. We're firing that up as soon as we finish the stream.
Trombone Hero?
You've got to see this.
Is there a plastic instrument?
It's the most hilarious. Yes. It's the most hilarious game you've ever seen.
That would be a good way to, remember how to play your positions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever use this at school?
This is entirely, it's like using Guitar Hero to teach somebody how to play guitar. It's not going to work.
But, I mean, it could. That could work.
It could work.
If I was going to have a game that would sum up my life, oh, man. Because, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's a game where you just want, but tubing, I think sums up my life quite nicely. I'm just in a river that just occasionally goes, like, there's rapids. Sometimes people are throwing crap at me. Sometimes I run into a shrub or a rock and sink. I mean, that's me. I have no control over what happens to me. I just roll down the river.
That's
so
good.
I'd say tubing.
That's good. Batman asks, what's the longest time you've played one game without taking a sleep or meal break? Not counting toilet visits.
EQ. Easily.
Really?
Oh, yeah. EQ. Play it till my eyes hurt. like, and they're teared up. I look like a freak. You know,
Was that on the mountain?
It's like, oh, no, well, no,
or was it in Lexington?
That was in Lexington.
Okay.
You've never seen Clockwork Orange. There's a scene there where they just got this guy tied in this chair, and they're making him watch all this stuff on TV, and he got his eyes wedged open. That's the way I look, just like, And then sometimes COH, too, the online games, because then you've got other people dependent on you, and so you're more inclined to not get up and leave, you know, and so those are the worst. Those are the worst ones.
That's why I can't get into MMOs, because you get sucked in like that, and then it's over.
Fat Worm blows a Sparky. That was the one I was thinking of to sum up your name or your life. What about you?
When I was a kid, like on a Saturday, I'd come downstairs and I'd fire up some sort of JRPG and play all day until it got dark. But to me, that never crossed over into the MMO thing, because it was never an overnight thing.
Yeah.
I've never done an all-night raid or anything like that.
Let me ask you a question about these JRPGs. I may have asked this before, but I'm really interested. Like, I've seen these RPGs. I've seen people play them, and I've even played a couple a little bit, right? And there's some dialogue, and maybe you got your cute little character, and then you go out, and there's like usually some turn-based fighting in there or whatever. What is it that is appealing about these games? Because that's the part I don't get. It just seems like they're real cutesy, and the plot stuff don't seem. I mean, people are like, "Oh my god, the story!" Like, I've played these games; they look like they're written. Most of the ones I put look like they were for like 6-year-olds. It just and the combat, it's okay. But it's not like, to me, it just seems like turn-based fighting. What is the appeal? Is it the art style? Am I missing out on these incredible storylines? What do you think it is that's great?
Well, I'm going to answer your question seriously, although I think you may be mocking me.
No, I'm dead serious.
When I was a kid, I wasn't very good at video games.
All right.
Okay? Video games required an amount of dexterity that I did not possess.
All right.
However, when I started playing role-playing games, I found that there are games out there that you can beat without having that. You know, if you kill enough blue slimes, you can eventually get up to the point where you can beat the game. You know, you can move on to the next thing. So that's point number one.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Point number two is that role-playing games were my first exposure to role-playing as a thing, okay? So if you're coming into role-playing having done tabletop role-playing, you might not be impressed. But if you're coming at it from the other way, where you don't realize that there's this thing out there called role-playing, where you go into a town and somebody gives you a quest, and you go out and you do the quest and you come back and you advance the storyline. You can upgrade your weapons and your armor. You can wear different stuff. Your character transforms. There's a story that overarches through this whole thing. All that was something that I'd never experienced before I started playing these games.
Okay, that also makes sense.
Okay.
Both those make total sense.
The third thing is that I'm a big music guy. Okay, I've always been a big fan of music, and role-playing games have by far the widest and deepest range of music.
They do have good music.
There's always, like, even back on the NES, like the original Dragon Warrior game, there were like 6 tunes in that game. And that was in a time where there weren't that many songs in video games. So all 3 of those things combined were what really spoke to me. But the biggest thing was that, like, I love being able to go into a village and just hang out and explore it and talk to people and not feel like something was trying to kill me. Because in most video games, something's always trying to kill you. And I've always been a fan of, like, you go into the safe haven, you learn about the story, you get sent on a quest, you leave the safe haven, you go off into a dangerous place, and then you can return back. You upgrade your stuff. It's just like playing a tabletop role-playing game. You go back to the town at the end of the adventure, you're talking to your buddies and whatever, and you upgrade your equipment, you get a new adventure, and you go on back on out. And while that's all going on, you have this overarching story that's also developing.
Listen, that was a great answer to that question. That actually made total sense. Like, normally at this point I would mock you for being dumb, but that was great. That explains because I wasn't being a jerk. I never understood the appeal. And it's not appealing to me, but it makes total sense. Outstanding. Good job, both.
Thank you.
There you go. I'm less critical of how dumb you are.
Okay. Let's see. Batman asks.
Oh man.
What?
Get this one right.
Oh no. I'm sorry. That's what Batman did ask.
Oh, good one, Bat.
Actually, no, we didn't. Oh yeah. Okay. His question was about the longest you've played one game. We go on to Pixels of Dawn now. He says, "What human sense do you value most?" This isn't even a question for me. Sight. Sight.
Yeah, sight. Although the value of my sight is going down every day, unfortunately. Soon it'll be touch.
Barkbit asks, when the aliens land, will they be peaceful or hostile?
I just hope they're not driving those ships from the last game. They'll be wrecked.
No, that would be great. We wouldn't have to fear them. They just crash into the land.
Can you imagine that? They will. Experts all agree that if aliens intercept anything we ever said and wanted to come here, they'll be hostile because we'll be idiots.
Mm-hmm.
With all that said, you know me, a blind, stinking optimist. And I'd like to think that aliens that would come to visit us would be very nice. So I'm going to go with nice.
Me too. I mean, what's the alternative?
We're screwed.
Live in fear and
the
we're screwed?
thing is, we don't need the aliens' help.
Right.
Like, oh no, they're going to hate us and get us. Well,
we're doing a good job of hating us and getting us ourselves. All right, Pajako6502 says, it's time to quit a job you really hate. You've inherited millions from great Aunt Shirley and can now afford not to work. Are you carrying your resignation letter in your pocket just waiting for the right moment to strike? Or are you going in, no regrets, and dropping a deuce on the boss's desk?
It's not that. Listen, you could do that. Right? I don't hate my boss that much.
This is a job, you got to imagine that you're working a job you really hate.
It doesn't matter. Because, I mean, for me, first of all, I'm not just going out and randomly dropping a deuce. I don't do that. All right, number two, if you get all this money, you can quit your job and you hate the job. I just stopped going to the job. Mm-hmm. I don't fill out paperwork. I don't return. Listen, I left the job at the movie theater. I still got the theater suit in my closet, right? The sucker suit. I don't care. I just won't go back. You know, mm-hmm. But I learned that, and this could apply even if you get untold fortunes. You don't want to burn your bridges with your work. It's not a good move. And I've seen people do it. You know, I saw this chick when I worked at the pizza place, Davaroni's. Remember Davaroni's? Mm-hmm. I worked with this chick named Lisa. And she said, she told me about it. She goes, that teacher tried to tell me what to do. And I gave her the business and cussed her out and walked out and never looked back. She was bragging about this. And I go, yeah, that really worked out well for you. You're a 40-year-old woman and you're working with me washing pizza pans.
Right.
Then go to good. Mm-hmm. You know, don't burn your bridges. You might need that profession to help you out, or at the bare minimum, help you not be dumb.
Yeah.
So I would not drop the deuce.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with you. I've burned bridges in my past jobs, and I regret it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Like, can you give me an example?
Oh yeah. Like, you know, I've said things to people as I was leaving, or
like a promo type cut.
Not a promo type cut, but I didn't make the cleanest break, and I said some things that I regret, and it did. I don't know if it's come back to haunt me, but I've always felt bad about it, and I've always wished I handled myself better.
Let me ask you, what about breaking up with a chick? You ever cut a promo, or do you regret not cutting one?
Most of the time, the breaking up was done on the other side.
Oh, so you took the promo.
Yeah, I've taken some promos.
Really? You just take them.
I just take them. There's nothing else you can do.
Move on. Yeah. If only you were taller.
That's true. Yeah. That's what they say. Spinny108 in our final question asks, you are in financial trouble.
Oh, how did he know? How did he know, Spinny?
And have to sell your prized Amiga 1200. What's your price? Is it less than $59.98.80 from a recent eBay auction?
I saw that auction. We all laughed at that auction. That will never sell for that. Mm-hmm. However, here's what you do. You got to work an angle, right? What I would do is, like, here I've got the Amiga in there, right? Now I'm just a schmuck, right? No one cares that I own this Amiga, but I know guys, so I could probably be like, hey, like, Amiga Bill, can you sign this thing like gold marker or something? Mm-hmm. Then I'd be like, hey, Neil over at RMC, can you do me solid? I get Doug, Chris Edwards, because all these luminaries of Amiga to sign this thing, you know. Mm-hmm. And then after they've signed it, that's when you make the big money. You sell that sucker. And then you change your name, leave town. That's it. You know?
That's where the witness protection.
Now I'm never getting nothing signed for nobody. Now it's over for me.
All right, guys. Thank you all.
You didn't answer the question.
Oh, well, I don't have a prize to make it 1200.
Oh, good point. So you would sell it for no dollars.
Yeah.
You could scam a sucker.
If I did have one, I would have sold it long ago.
You know what we could do is we could take one of those sidecars that go on an Amiga and strap it onto your 600 and maybe get some glue and some and just sew one side of it.
Yep.
And then there you go.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you, as always, for listening. You can ask us a question on our Discord server if you like. You can join our Discord server by becoming a patron. Patreon.com/AskTheAmigas. Amigos podcast. We'd love to have you be part of our Amigos family.
That's right.
Until next month, guys, have a good one. When we see you then, adios.